All right, guys, welcome to another live chat. Today is kind of touching back to my live chat that I first hosted last week. We're going to be talking a lot about limiting beliefs, the money mindset, and getting very clear on what it is that your goals are, what it is that your next step needs to be, and what action steps you really need to take in order to embody new beliefs that aren't so limiting. So as you guys hop on, say hello, let me know that you're here, give me a wave. And as we continue forward, ask questions. If you're watching the replay, let me know down in the comments, say hashtag replay or something of that nature. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. All right, so as you guys join, go ahead and say hello. Let me know what time it is from where you're watching. Let me know how your day is going. Let me celebrate you today. All right, so I spent time this morning journaling, and this has been something that I've been avoiding for quite a while, if I'm being totally honest. I'm definitely one of those people who is very good at doing things and not very good at pausing as my cat eats my plant. But it's definitely necessary. With every action, I believe there needs to be an equal and opposite surrender, an equal and opposite relaxation, right? A moment of nothingness, a moment of silence. So for me, journaling is a great way to shift into that position, shift into that place of a little bit less action, a little bit more relaxation. So while I was journaling, something came up about what I have been experiencing lately and how I went about fixing it, how I went about, approaching it with love and kindness and not prodding to get to a certain place or to get to a certain expectation, but really just to let it hold space and then leave, right? So I came up with 6 steps that you can take to identify limiting beliefs, to see very specifically what goals you're trying to reach and what is stopping you from reaching them. So step number 1 in identifying these limiting beliefs is to write about an ideal Monday, right? I want you guys to take time, sit down, get a blank piece of paper or get your notes out on your iPhone or whatever, wherever you can get words out, right? And just dream about the ideal Monday. Talk about what time you wake up, what you ate for breakfast, what the air feels like, what your house feels like. Hey, Carla, thanks for joining. Talk about the things that you want your life to feel like, right? So if I were to write about my ideal Monday, I'd probably talk about waking up with the sun. I'd talk about walking out to my kitchen and pressing brew on my coffee or starting some tea. I talk about, saying goodbye to my boyfriend in the morning as he goes off to work. And then I would talk about coming to my desk, sitting down and journaling or taking some nourishing time for myself. And then I would go in to describe my day, what it looks like, the hours I'm working, what exactly I'm doing for work, the feelings. You really want to talk about the feelings that you're embodying throughout this day. Now, go big with this. Dream big. Write about something that feels possible within your life. Write about something that you could totally see yourself doing that makes complete sense for you, right? But feels a little bit scary. It feels a little bit like, oh my God, could I really have that? Right? Scary in an exciting way, not in an impossible way. So as you guys are writing this, really start to embody the feeling. Write out as much as you can. Be as specific as you can. Get every detail that you possibly can out of your brain and onto paper about what this ideal Monday felt like. Now, step 2. After you get this memory, after you get this feeling, after you get this ideal Monday out on paper, what I invite you guys to do is identify what within that memory feels crazy. Right? What about that memory that when you look at it and when you're reading the words back to you, you get like a little scoff in the back of your head, or you feel like, oh my God, no one would ever believe I could do that, or that feels so spoiled, or why would I do that? Like, how could I ever? A little bit of guilt, maybe a little bit of shame comes up around whatever it is that you're desiring. And what I want you guys to do is as you start to become aware of the feelings that you have around this ideal Monday, put it down into words. Get very clear on what it is that you believe about that specific thing. So I'm going to try to come up with an example for you guys here. When I first moved to Florida, right, I always knew that I wanted to be location independent, I wanted to work online, and I wanted to be my own boss. Those were 3 things that were always very clear to me from the get-go. So when I started doing some of this work 2-3 years ago, I would write about these ideal days and then save them and stick them in like the back of journals or the back of notebooks and return back and see how much closer I was to them. And the magic's so real, guys. This definitely works because, you know, here I am. Anyway, something that I used to write about is my mornings, very specifically my mornings, what they would feel like, what they would look like. Say hello as you guys join. Let me know where in the world you're watching from, what time it is. Say hello. But yeah, nonetheless, something that I used to write about was my mornings, and something very particular I remember wanting for myself is not having to wake up at a specific time for any reason other than something that I wanted to do. And I know that sounds kind of lofty, right? Even today, I struggle with saying that out loud and feeling totally confident in embodying that boss babe attitude about it. But it's kind of a big shift compared to what the norm is for most people, right? A little bit of background about me, some limiting beliefs that I acknowledged within that idea of like, I want to be my own boss. I don't want to have to wake up at a certain time if I don't feel like it. Like, I want to be able to always nourish myself first, which isn't obviously the structure of many jobs, right? Many career paths. So a huge thing that I had come up about this is that I didn't feel like I could do that because I didn't go to college, or I didn't feel like I could do that because I didn't spend enough money on education, or I didn't feel like I could do that because I was so young, and where was I going to get the experience to claim this job title for myself, right? All these things coming up that I believed were going to hold me back from reaching those goals. So step number 3 is, once you identify one of those limiting beliefs and you put it into words, I want you to really start to realize where that belief has come from, right? Who in your life has told you that that is how life works? What authority figure really is typically where it comes from, or what person do you look up to? What friend do you look up to? What authority figure, mom, dad, teacher, best friend? Who told you that that was the truth? Who exemplified that in their own lives when you were very young for you to believe that that's just how life works? Right? So for me, I can come back to the memory of my mom and dad insisting that I was going to go to college because I needed to be a successful person, right? So instantly, as a young child, I believed if you didn't go to college, you couldn't be successful. Only successful people went to college. Like, this very limiting belief I had deep inside, rooted into my foundation, that as a child, you just don't even realize that you're picking up these pieces of information and that you're picking them up as truth, right? As definites, as finites. So as you guys come up with these beliefs, when you're realizing what about your ideal Monday feels impossible, understand where the belief is coming from. Forgive yourself for believing it. Forgive the person who maybe gave you that idea that it's a finite, definite thing. And then let's shift into the idea of, let's create a new belief around this, right? So what I would love to touch on is that when you guys are thinking about limiting beliefs, when you're noticing patterns within your desires of the same limiting beliefs coming up, I want you to take a step back and look at your reality currently and ask yourself, where is this belief currently reflecting itself back to me? Where am I seeing this belief being proven to be true on a daily basis, right? So let's say that, we'll just keep going with the school thing. Let's say that you didn't go to college, but you want to be, I don't know, a photographer, right? Let's say that you want to be an artist. You want to create something, but you didn't go to school to learn how to be a professional artist. You didn't go to college to learn how to professionally market yourself, right? Whatever it is that you value, that you see school could have offered you or could offer anyone or whatever, is a belief, right? Whatever you think that has to hold for you, and because you didn't take that option, you feel like you lack it. So really start to acknowledge where in your daily life that belief is showing up. So if I believe that I had to go to school to be an artist in order to be a successful artist, where am I making decisions every day that reflect that? It could look something like, I don't post my work online because I can't say that I learned how to do this properly. I feel like I'm not using the right technique, right? It could be something like, well, I'm going to charge less for my paintings even though I feel like they're worth more just because I don't have the training she has, or I don't have the title she has, or I don't have the experience they have, right? So these little tiny ideas, these little tiny decisions, they're usually very small decisions. They're so small that you barely feel yourself making them. They're almost subconscious. And those are the decisions that you need to work on shifting. So after you've identified where it is that you're making, where you're seeing this pattern reoccur every day in small places throughout your life, the next step is going to be to make or create a new belief from there, okay? So, which it sounds easier than it is, right? You can't just decide that you're gonna believe something different and then leave it at that. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did, but it doesn't. You have to embody a new belief. Now, what do I mean by embodying a new belief? What do I mean by embodying anything? By you making decisions from beliefs that are limiting, is you embodying that belief. So if you agree with yourself, think logically about this for a moment. If you agree that what it is that you believed in the past isn't necessarily true, doesn't necessarily apply to you, and you've experienced where it hasn't, then you can logically say that it's not a belief that you need anymore. It's not a belief that is a truth, right? It's not a fact, it's a belief. So you let go of it, and then you ask yourself, okay, for my next level to be reached, for me to get to that place where I want to be, for me to sell my service for the price that I want to, for me to receive the payment back that I want to receive from my work, what do I need to believe in order to do that, in order to embody that truly and with integrity? And then that's where you can shift into creating the truth of your belief. So let's come back to the education thing, because that's definitely something that I can relate to. I attended an all-girls boarding school, very high-end, high education, very fancy all-girls boarding school on a scholarship. And having been there, I really believed that if I didn't go to college, I was going to struggle. But there were moments throughout my dance career and moments throughout my, explorations after dance, trying to choose what it is I wanted to do with my life, where I proved to myself that without having the education, without having the technique, without having the years of experience that I believed I needed, I was still able to accomplish the goals I had set for myself. I was still able to excel and exceed every expectation I had and others had for me within dance and within the things that I explored after dance. That proved to me that my belief of needing education, needing a certificate, needing a piece of paper, needing X, Y, and Z on a resume in order to prove that I am able and I am worthy of and I am, it's good at, we're saying that I excel at something, I didn't necessarily need someone else telling me that first before I could embody it. So after I identified that, it became very, very easy for me to then take the action to move away from my home state, to move to Florida, to get on my own feet, to get my own jobs, to start exploring other options, and to trust that whatever it is that was guiding me back then to make the decisions I did is still guiding me now, and that I can fully lean into that and trust that it has my best interest at hand, right? Now, whether you want to call it faith, or the universe, or God, or angels, or your inner self, whatever you want to call it, it's that thing inside your head, almost like your conscience, that just says, I don't think that's for you. Or it says, yes, that feels good, I think we should explore that, right? We don't always necessarily have reasoning or justification. We don't necessarily understand why we have the feelings we do, but you can really start to lean into some of those gut feelings after you understand your own limiting beliefs. So I hope all that's making sense. If it's not, ask questions. I'm totally here to answer them. So after you guys identify your limiting beliefs, after you start to realize where they came from, I want you to shift into making new beliefs, and not only making new, but taking actions that embody your new beliefs. So this is where it gets fun, because like I decided that education wasn't going to be something that limited me, that a piece of paper saying that I had spent 4 years studying something wasn't going to limit me. You guys can make the same decisions about your limiting beliefs. So let's come back to the artist's perspective, right? Let's say that whatever you're creating you believe isn't worthy of being sold because you don't have X, Y, and Z, because of A, B, C, whatever, right? Come to that next level self who is already selling their paintings. Go back to that ideal Monday self, right? And ask them, what do I believe about my paintings? What do I believe about my ability? What do I believe about the potential obstacles that I could come up against? Ask that person, not the person who's living your reality right now. The person that you and I are right now in this moment is the person who has created the past 5, 10, 15 days, weeks, months, years, right? We're reflections of the past. But when we start to shift into making decisions from the reflection of the future, right, which I know sounds super trippy, but when we shift into that place, you can start creating a reality that is reflecting those decisions, not the past, right? So then your reality is going to reflect future you, not past you. Does that make sense? I know it sounds really trippy, but like English only has so many words for me to get this across. So hopefully it's making sense with you guys. But yeah, so when you're setting these new beliefs, shift into the place of the future, not the past. You're not asking past you what they believe. You're asking future you what they've already experienced in order to accomplish what they already have, right? There's this idea within manifestation of collapsing time, right? Quantum mechanics, collapsing time. And I am by no means versed in quantum anything, so I'm not even going to try to go there right now. But it's out there. You guys can do the research for yourself and embody those words probably better than I can. But basically, guys, it's this idea of once you realize that you control your future through your beliefs, you control what is going to manifest through you and manifest into your reality based off of how you react today, based off of how you make decisions today, then doesn't it make sense that you'd want the person in the future who's already experienced the success and the abundance and the mindset that you're trying to accomplish now? Doesn't it make sense to have that person making the decisions, right? So when you're shifting beliefs, when you're creating a new belief, you have to come from that next place. You can't come from the past. You can't even come from your current place. Otherwise, you're going to be recreating the same reality you've had in front of you for years, months, days, weeks, however long it's been, that you've been trying to change something, that you've been trying to alchemize something. So hopefully that's all making sense. Once you've created your new belief from that next level space, I want you to focus on your environment. So this might be, in my humble opinion, the most important part of solidifying these actions. You can do all of the inner work, you can do all of the actions, but if you don't create an environment that's going to nurture your choices, nurture your beliefs, your new beliefs, and nurture action in the future, there's no way in hell or heaven or earth, there's no way that it's going to stick. It's impossible. Think about taking a cat, for example, right? And you feed the cat and you brush the cat and you give the cat like a name, but then you stick the cat in Antarctica and you expect it to thrive in the freezing environment when it's supposed to be like in a house curled up on your bed in your lap, right? Like not everything thrives in just any environment. And that goes for your next level self. That goes for the decisions that you're going to be making that are out of this reality and into the next, into your next level, into that next manifestation of your desires. So you can't expect to keep your environment exactly the same, right? And this is your environment in your mind, your body, your physical reality, your soul, like everything has to shift. And it's not necessarily a big shift, but everything has to shift. And when you start to reflect next level self into the reality, you buy the candle because it makes your desk feel luxurious, right? You buy the extra big towel because that makes you feel like your next level self. You invest in the really, really healthy, organic, great food because you know that next level you would do that, right? And maybe you even start smaller. Something that I loved about money mindset very early on was one of the first things that was said to me when I started investigating money mindset and really embracing it into my life was that pay your bills early and pay them with joy. How you do one thing is how you do a lot of things, right? So think about it, guys. If you are letting money leave you, if you're giving money with resentment, if you're giving money with distaste, if you're giving money with this feeling of lack, this feeling of, oh my God, they're taking everything. This is going to leave me broke. This is going to leave me in the worst state yet. How am I going to make it through? If you're attaching those emotions to giving money, those are the same emotions attached to receiving money, right? And it's going to come out in place, it's going to feel like greed. It's going to feel like lack. It's going to feel like stress. It's going to feel like worry. There's going to be no ease to giving or receiving What you do on one end happens on the other. There is no one without the other, right? So this is what I tell all of my clients. This is what I tell all of the women who have ever considered coaching with me. And it said, look, when you're making the investment, when you're paying for your coaching, when you're saying yes to yourself, it has to be from a place of power. It cannot be from a place of, oh, I don't know, I should do this because everyone else is doing it, or, oh, I don't know, like, this is so scary and it just doesn't feel good, and I'm going to do this and it's going to set me up for failure this coming month. No, you can't make decisions from that place. That is not next level you talking. That is reality you, or that is the person who has experienced your past talking, right? So when you're talking about making an investment, when you're talking about spending money, giving money, investing money, it has to come from a place of power. And that place of power sits with next level you. 9 chances out of 10, whatever your next level looks like, they don't feel scared about money. They don't grip onto money. They don't hold on to everything in their life with this extreme anxiety of it's not enough, it's never going to come back, right? They release it, they let it go because they already know that more is coming in. They already know, they've proven to themselves that they're successful, that what they do, what they feel like they were designed to do here on this earth, they've already proven to themselves that they are good at it and that they can make a living off of it and that they can feel fulfilled through it. So you have to come from next level you if you're going to invest. You cannot come from a place of lack. You cannot come from a place of, I don't even know if distaste, whatever I just said like a minute ago, I don't even think that's a word. Like, I don't even know what I just said. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. So whatever, guys, excuse distaste or whatever I just said. But basically, you have to come from a place of declaration and clarity and power. You have to put your foot down and say, you know what? This is what next level me wants. And reality me is scared shitless from it, but you know what? We're going to do it anyway. We're going to make it work. That's the kind of attitude you have to have when going into transitions if you want it to be expedited in full force and really embodying your passion, right? Now, I'm going to finish this list off. Step number 6 was talking about the environment, how you receive and give. And this is, I think, where I'll end steps 1 through 6 through, and then I'll review them. That way you guys have them all in one concise spot. But you need to give more energy to what you want to be than what you already are, right? More energy to being than have been, right? Does that make sense? It's kind of like you get to choose what side of yourself you want to feed. Are you going to nourish the good or are you going to nourish the bad? Not that I believe in polarizing anything within yourself with the words good or bad, right? Everything's there to serve a purpose within one way or another. But you do need to realize that you have to feed the thing you want and leave the thing you don't want behind. You got to let it go. You got to stop attaching onto it as though it's defining you, and then create a new success story. Create your own story. It's really, really simple. You just have to give yourself permission to do it, right? And I know that's hard. I lived in fear for years about investing money into the things that I believed in, and not just the things that I believed in, but in myself. Because ultimately I wanted to believe in myself, but told myself that until I do this or until I do that, until I prove something, that I'm not going to find the courage to do this because of X, Y, and Z limiting beliefs, right? Do you guys see how this is all coming full circle about how limiting beliefs really define your actions, really define your perspective on everything? So to recap on our 6 steps, step 1, write about a future ideal Monday. Go big, dream big, be honest with yourself, and get as many details down on paper as you possibly can. Step 2, identify what feels impossible, crazy, what you feel resistance against, and really start to develop, step 3, the beliefs that are attached to those feelings of I'm crazy, this is impossible, why would I ever believe I deserve that, I'm not worthy of that, I haven't done this to get that, all of that good stuff. Get those beliefs down in words on paper really, really clearly. Step 4, what in your current reality is embodying these limiting beliefs? So where at in your life are you seeing these beliefs take action? Where are you seeing these limiting mindsets, limiting beliefs make the decisions for you in your life where you're not even questioning them, right? Where you're not even considering that maybe you have a limiting belief sitting there and it's not something you've done wrong. It's not something you're not doing enough of. It's just sitting there, right? Step 5, make a new belief, create action around it. So ask the next level self, what's the truth for me? What's the truth for how I got there? Create that belief and then start taking actions from that place very deliberately with intention. And then step 6 is your environment. Focusing on what it is that you're surrounding yourself with, what is nurturing that mindset, what is not, getting rid of the things that are not serving you anymore, saying thank you and goodbye, and then inviting in the things that will. This is where the magic happens. When you start to curate an environment around yourself based off of your next level reality, manifestation occurs so quickly, but the outside has to match the inside. The inside has to match the outside. There's this divine balance, right? And then giving more energy to becoming rather than have been, right? Focusing on how you give and how you receive, acknowledging that how you typically do one thing is how you do many things. And that anytime you guys feel discomfort, anytime you have emotions that aren't feeling so great, and I actually wrote about this today in an Instagram post. So if you guys are interested in reading more about this kind of mindset of like everything has a place within your life and that every emotion exists for a very good reason, head over to Instagram. It's my latest post. But basically, you need to create a space to let the emotions that maybe hurt, to let the emotions that maybe make you feel discomfort, create a space where you can sit down with those emotions and say, what's going on? Why are you here? How can I help? How can I have you be heard, right? And I know this kind of sounds like very, very woo-woo a little bit, right? But I'm a very woo-woo person. Like that's just how I function, and that's where I've found my success. So perhaps you will too. If something's not making sense to you, just let it go. No, it's not meant for you, and we'll move forward. But sit down with these emotions, lean into them. I recently, very recently, had a big epidemic of like feeling like it just wasn't quite right. Like I wasn't getting somewhere fast enough. Like I had a timeline to meet. Like I had a deadline to meet. Like time was working against me. And I talked to my coach about it, and she said something really beautiful. She said to lean into it. Ask it what's going on. Just be kind to it, right? You don't have to, as she would say, bulldoze over anything that doesn't feel comfortable, because it's there for a reason. And I firmly believe that. I always say to you guys that your uncomfortable experience, your unfortunate experience, the things that don't bring anything that feels great into your life right away, exist to highlight your desires, to reflect back to your deepest rooted, most pertinent, have to be met desires in order for you to step into your soul purpose. So hopefully that helped. If you guys have any questions or want to follow these steps 1 through 6, and then maybe even share those with me or share those with your friends or post them on Facebook, bring them into reality. I know it can be kind of personal sometimes, but I do believe that at some point when we start speaking things into reality, when we start typing things into reality, we really start to solidify movement within ourselves. So I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday. I am thinking about doing a free training this week where people will sign up to show up, we'll get pen and paper, and we'll walk through a lot of this together, and I'll do a little bit of coaching through it. So if you guys are interested in that, send me a DM and I'll get you on the email list or a list to notify you when we're doing that. But sometime this week, I'm thinking Thursday or Friday, doing a little free training. So that's all for today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Feel free to comment down below if you catch the replay. Just say #replay. Let me know what parts are resonating with you, what parts not so much. And I'm more than happy to elaborate on anything you guys would like. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Happy Wednesday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.